What are you actually going to the theater for this year? Because 2026 is shaping up to be absolutely stacked with releases that range from epic blockbusters to indie darlings that might completely blindside you. There are sequels to franchises we didn't know we needed more of, adaptations that have been decades in the making, and directors returning to the big screen with something to prove. Let's talk about the films that deserve to be on your radar before the year gets too chaotic. The Odyssey. After Oppenheimer, Nolan is adapting Homer's ancient epic with a $250 million budget and an absurd cast. Matt Damon as Odysseus, Anne Hathaway as Penelope, Tom Holland as Telemachus, and Zendaya in an undisclosed role. The Odyssey follows the dangerous voyage home after the Trojan War. Nolan isn't treating this as fantasy adventure. He's exploring human struggle, sacrifice, and survival. In an era where blockbusters feel increasingly safe, a director gambling on ancient Greek mythology feels genuinely bold. It's scheduled for July 2026. The Devil Wears Prada 2. 15 years later, Andy Sachs returns to runway in The Devil Wears Prada 2. Andy is now a successful journalist, but Miranda Priestley still has a way of pulling people back into her orbit. The film explores what it means when ambition becomes second nature, and you realize you've been shaped by people who demanded excellence from you. With Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep reuniting, this feels like the right kind of full-circle moment rather than a cash grab. It opens in May 2026. Toy Story 5. In Toy Story 5, Woody and Buzz meet their match, technology. Bonnie gets a tablet, and suddenly, physical playtime feels ancient. Pixar is grappling with real anxiety about obsolescence and changing childhoods. It's touching a nerve that feels genuinely contemporary. Toy Story has always understood that these characters represent something deeper about connection, purpose, and belonging. This fifth film suggests they're not done exploring what that means. We'll see it in theaters on June 2026. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, to be released on November 20th, 2026, takes us back to the early days of Panem's Games, exploring a darker, more brutal chapter when the games were still being refined as tools of control. This prequel exists in a space where outcomes aren't predetermined, which gives the stakes real weight. The Hunger Games has always been about systems of power, and this film shows us the moment when the Capitol realized exactly how useful fear could be. Disclosure Day. Disclosure Day, scheduled for June 2026, is Spielberg's latest sci-fi thriller, deliberately vague about its plot. It stars Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, and Colin Firth. With O'Connor's trailer line, people have a right to know the truth. Spielberg hasn't made a true sci-fi thriller in years, and the fact that he's returning to the genre now suggests he has something to say about government, truth, and what happens when information can no longer be controlled. This could be one of 2026's most thoughtful blockbusters. Dune, Part 3. This is Denis Villeneuve's final Dune installment, set for December 18th, 2026, and Timothée Chalamet describes it as the eeriest and most intense chapter yet. Set 12 years after Part 2, this adaptation of Dune Messiah explores Paul's internal collapse as he grapples with absolute power. The cast includes Zendaya, Florence Pugh in a larger role, Robert Pattinson as the villain, and Jason Momoa. Villeneuve shot significant portions with IMAX cameras, and filming wrapped in November 2025. Rather than a victory lap, this conclusion is a cautionary tale about the cost of power. The Magic Faraway Tree. The Magic Faraway Tree, to be released on March 27th, 2026, adapts the beloved children's series about a modern family forced to relocate to the English countryside where they discover a magical tree and its eccentric residents. The film is written by Simon Farnaby, who wrote Paddington 2 and Wonka, and stars Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy as the parents. The magical world features Nicola Coughlan as Silky the Fairy, Nonso Anozie as Moonface, and Jessica Gunning as Dame Washalot. This feels like a genuine love letter to the source material, blending modern anxieties with timeless wonder. Hoppers. Hoppers, scheduled on March 6th, 2026, is Pixar's latest original concept, and it's something genuinely different from what they've done before. A young animal lover named Mabel discovers technology that allows her consciousness to transfer into a lifelike robotic beaver, letting her communicate with and understand animals. Directed by Daniel Chong, We Bare Bears, and written by Jesse Andrews, the film features voices from Piper Curda, Bobby Moynihan, John Hamm, and Meryl Streep. The film also features an original end credits song by SZA. Moana, live action. Thomas Kail, who directed Hamilton, is taking the helm of Moana that will be released on July 2026. It's Disney's live-action reimagining of the animated musical. Catherine Lagaya plays Moana, with Dwayne Johnson returning as Maui. This is the kind of musical adaptation that could either feel exciting or completely hollow, depending on how Kail approaches it. The source material is strong. The original film had genuine heart and cultural specificity, so the question is whether the live-action version respects that or just chases spectacle. The Backrooms. The Backrooms, coming out in May 2026, is horror cinema's answer to internet liminal space folklore. Based on the creepypasta concept of mysterious, empty spaces that exist somewhere between our reality and something darker, this film promises to deliver genuine dread through minimalism and atmosphere. The cast and plot details are being kept relatively secret, which is the smart move for a film designed to unsettle. 2026 is a year of conclusions and expansions. We're getting the end of Villeneuve's Dune saga, sequels to beloved franchises, and fresh takes on stories we thought we knew. Some of these films will disappoint, some will become cultural touchstones, but they all feel like they're made by people who have something to say, which is rare enough to be worth paying attention to. This is Ladies First, watching women in movies. Here, we empower women by reviewing and discussing films that highlight their stories, struggles, and achievements. Which 2026 release are you most excited about? Like, subscribe, and let's talk about the films shaping this year in the comments.